Hi, everybody. Thanks for stopping by. My name's FM18, and you're watching the Dafuge Challenge, episode 86, with Enfield Town FC. Well, we are about a month into the season, and I wanted to start on this screen just to show you where we are. The bulk of our money is from the TV revenue. And then we also got a grant to build our new stadium. One of the first things I did was I got an increase to the scouting team. I was able to add 2 more scouts. And then I went to the board and asked them to improve our youth facilities, and they agreed. And then I said, we need to improve our youth recruitment. And they said, no, we're fine with the way it is at the moment. And frankly, our youth recruitment is literally whatever kid is happening to be walking by this stadium. It's ridiculous. My youth intake last year was horrible. More on that in a minute, because it affected some of the things I did in the off season. And I said, look, you got to understand, I essentially said, look, we need to increase the youth recruitment if we want to succeed. And they still said no, and to be honest with you, I saved the game, and I said, look, if you don't grant this request, I'm going to quit. And they were like, okay, we recognize your passion. We're going to increase your youth recruitment. So our youth recruitment is now our youth recruitment went from non-existent to merely horrible, I believe. It'll be level 0? I don't know. We'll find out in a little while. As you can see, we've got about $5,000 left on our payroll. We've got about £500,000 left in our transfer budget. This was a horrible off-season. Not because of the players I lost or the players I brought in, but because I had to do it twice. I finished last season and was in a good mood. You know, I was glad we survived, even though it was a relegation battle. Went right into the new season, scheduled my friendlies, was on my very last friendly, and I thought to myself, you know, it's been a while since I saved this. As soon as this friendly is over, I need to save this. And literally, a minute later, there was a graphics error, and the game crashed. And the last time I had saved the game was right before the transfer window opened. So I had to go back through and do everything again. The good news is I was able to get a lot of the players I went after the first time around. The bad news is, and this is entirely my fault, I screwed up and I lost a player I wanted to keep. Now, one of the things I did when my scouting team expanded was I sent the majority of them out to different countries. 1 to Germany, 1 to Spain, 1 to Italy, 1 to France, and then 1 to Central Europe. And I sent them all out looking for youth players. Then I went to my general manager and I said, I need you to find me any available youth players out there. So these are the released players. The big names are going to be Liam Smith, Romani Medford-Smith, and those are going to be the most recognizable. Everyone else was either a part-time player or a youth player that I let go. These were the free transfers in. Now, there's a lot of names here. The vast majority of them are 18 years old and younger. That's because my youth intakes have been so bad the past couple of years that every time a player has become eligible for a youth contract, I've simply let them go. One of the things I noticed when I got an increase to my coaching staffs, all of my coaching staffs, is I looked at my under 18 team and I literally had 7 players who were 18 years or younger on the team. All the other players were those grayed out FM players that are just horribly average across the board. So I went to my GM and I said, find me youth players. I don't care how good they are. You know, none of them will probably ever see first team playing time here, but I need to fill out my youth team, and I want it to be a little bit more successful this year. The players that came in on the first team, first off, Michael Berry, 24-year-old German player, 2.5-star current 5-star potential ability, I believe. If I'm looking at that correctly, plays central defender, comes in as part of the center back rotation. Decent physicals, good mentals. I really like the 17 teamwork, the 13 determination, the anticipation and bravery are also nice. His technicals are okay for where they matter. 11 heading, 11 marking, 13 tackling. Those will only get better with some training. The 10 pace is, I guess it's a little bothersome, but then again, he's a central back. I'm not expecting him to blitz up and down the field. Next in, Tom Gardner, who is interesting. He is from Thailand. He is a Thai international. 49 appearances, 1 goal for them. I scouted him last year when he was at Hartlepool, brought him in on loan, and for some reason, they didn't re-sign him. And I absolutely jumped on him because he's the best defensive left back I have on the team. Really good physicals. The jumping range of 8's not the best, but, it's not a red number. I'm happy with that. The mentals are very good for where they matter. I like the 16 aggression. The 11 bravery and anticipation are nice. Concentration and determination are really good. Positioning and work rate are okay. His technicals, they're good where they count. 11 first touch is nice. Marking a 12. Tackling a 12. The crossing and dribbling he's working on, as well as the corners. He's probably got a couple more years of improvement left in him, but he has definitely been a quality addition to the team. And I'm more than happy I was able to bring him on full-time. Next in, Ian Irvine, 2-star current ability, 5-star potential ability. That last star is kind of sort of filled in, so I'm going to say 5-star potential ability. 23 years old, brought in as a backup. Graham McDonald left. I wanted a quality backup, and I wanted a guy I could also play on the under-18 team and not feel guilty about playing him on the under-18 team, and he more than fit the bill. He's, I think, a quality backup. I'm more than happy starting him a couple of games, and I suspect later in the season when we run into that schedule where we play 5 games in 9 days, he will definitely get a couple of starts. Decent physicals, decent mentals, pretty good goalkeeping skills. They can be a little better. I do like that 16 determination, and the 15 bravery are also nice. In on a backup contract, happy to be a backup player. I'm happy to pay him a backup salary. Simon Coomer, James Kinsey, and Aaron Wolf all fit that sign because they were 18 years old. None of them will probably get first-team playing time here at Enfield. I might be able to get a little bit of money for them when they leave. If I do, that's just icing on the cake. Bring them in for free, sell them off for £5,000. That puts me $5,000 in the black, and I'm more than happy with that. Dylan O'Donnell, 2.5-star current ability, 2.5-star potential ability, comes in as depth at the defensive right back position. Not horrible, but not great. Not a full-time starter, I believe, but he can fill in. He comes in on the rotation. He hasn't gotten any starts yet. He's been mostly on the under-18s. Frankly, I needed someone who was a full-time right back to step in if need be. Darren Odling is probably the best of the general manager picks for the under-18 players I brought in. 1-star current ability, 3-star potential ability. Good physicals for his age. His technicals, yeah, they're improving though, which is nice. He's getting all the starts on the under-18 team. He might see the bench for a regular season game. I think he's one of the few players that I will be able to sell for a profit. Mark Gummersall is a player I like to have on the bench personally. 2-star current ability. Yeah, that may not be 5-star. He could just be a 3-star potential ability player. Defensive center back. His physicals aren't the best. His mentals are pretty good where they matter. His technicals are pretty good where they matter. Defensive center back by nature, but can also play defensive left back and defensive right back competently. One player on my bench who can fill in 3 positions if I need him to. I like that sort of guy on my bench. Jonathan Butler, Guy Horton, and Tom O'Hare are part of the under-18 project. Tom Frazier, 2.5-star current ability, 3.5-star potential ability, 22 years old. Midfielder, really good physicals, good mentals where they count, decent technicals where they count, Carolero Mazzala, advanced playmaker. That's one of the big reasons I brought him in. I'm trying to experiment a little bit this more with my midfield so they're not playing on top of each other. He comes in as a backup player. He'll be on the rotation, but he'll get starts every once in a while as well. I really like the 16 determination. I really like the 15 work rate. Composure's nice as well. He can also do a job for us as a tutor, which is one of the bigger reasons I signed him. Dylan Mackin is another type of player I like to have on my team, kind of the elder statesman, 2.5-star current ability, 2.5-star potential ability. Decent physicals, okay mentals, decent technicals where they count. He's here more as a tutor in depth than anything else. He'll get the occasional start. He's on the bench almost every game. I'm more than comfortable getting him 30, 45 minutes. If I have to start him for an extended period of time, I think I'm up a creek. But he's here on a 2-year contract. He'll probably play both years here in some fashion. I don't know. I like this sort of player on my bench. The last 4 players, Hartley, Gretton, Cross, and O'Connell, are part of the Under-18 project. Had a few players go out on loan. I don't know that all of them will come back to Enfield Town at the end of the season. The one I do know is going to come back to Enfield Town at the end of the season and get re-signed if his contract is close is Joseph Laws. Nigel Omerod, Owen McManus, Michael Proctor. Had a decent amount of players go out on loan. Some of them could have gotten first-team playing time here at Enfield, but it would have been on a rotation. And I would much rather a player like Shane Keeley and Michael Proctor get first-team playing time, even if it is at a lower level. That's one of the reasons I sent them out. Shane Keeley, still our right back of the future. I think another season out on loan, and then I will be more than happy to start him next season here. Same thing goes for Michael Proctor as well, although he'll probably go out on loan another 2 seasons or so, come back when he's 21. And honestly, the same could probably be said for Keeley as well. He's also 19 years old. It depends on how well they develop, honestly. The rest of the players are out on loan to get them first-team playing time because they weren't going to see it here. We did bring in Hank Kramer from Newcastle. And I really like this kid. 21 years old, 3-star current ability, 4-star potential ability. I think it's 5-star potential ability. I'm not quite sure. With his skin, you can never really tell. Actually, you know what? Let me see something. Yeah, definitely 4-star ability. Anyhow, comes to us from Newcastle. Is a left-footed poacher. That's one of the reasons I went after him. Really good physicals, decent mentals where they count. I like the 16 determination, the anticipation, the bravery, and the composure are also nice, as is the flair. His technicals, some of them could use a little help, yeah, but the 15 to finishing, the 14 first touch, the 13 technique, all very, very nice. And the 8 dribbling is okay as well. He's been at Newcastle for 4 years now, and he's never gotten any playing time. He was available on loan, and I suspect at the end of the season, I might be able to get him on a transfer. His contract doesn't expire till 2029. If I can't get him on a transfer, I will definitely try and loan him in again. I am paying part of his salary. I'm okay with that. As you can see, he's been a pretty quality player for us. In our first 6 games, he's fit into the team nicely. And this is where the fun begins. On the outs, Ryan Edwards went to Grimsby Town for £15,000, going up to 22.5. John Archer. He just never really seemed to develop. 2.5-star current ability. Yeah, 4-star potential ability. You can see a little bit better here because that last star is definitely blacked out. He went to Partick Thistle. They made an offer for him. And frankly, I brought in some better players on the midfield. I wasn't exactly happy to see him go. At the same time, I wasn't upset to see him go. I got £375,000 for him straight up. Stephen Humphreys also went to Partick Thistle. He was unhappy with the amount of playing time he was getting, even though he was on a backup contract, and I told him he was going to be a backup player. Partick Thistle also, I put him out there for about 2/3 of his value. Partick Thistle snapped him up, no problem. Jack Lee went to Exeter City. He's getting up there in age. He lost a 1/2 star. He wasn't getting any better. And frankly, I brought in better defenders. getting a little bit of money back for him was nice. He came in on a free. I got £30,000 for him. Matthew Cook. I went back and forth on Matthew. And then Brentford came in and made an unsolicited offer for him. And I turned him down, and they came back and they made another offer, and they said, and his agent said he wanted to negotiate with him. And the more I thought about it, he was part of Enfield Town for 2 seasons, 68 games, 37 goals, 24 assists, 6 players in the match, and probably about 7.26 rating. So he joined the team in the 2025-2026 season. Here, up to here, are all the injuries he's had since he's been here. 5 days, 11 days, 5 weeks, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 4 weeks, 2 days, 3 days. He's never played a full season for us. And I keep waiting for one of those days where we'll be playing a game and he'll fall over and it'll come back and say, leg fell off. You know, I don't know that I got full value for him. I want to say he wasn't valued at £625,000 when I had him. But Brentford came in at £500,000. I got them up to $575 on some pretty easily achievable appearance and goal fees. If I don't see that full fee, it's literally because he's injured himself and is retired from football. Nico Schlotterbeck is something I'm going to have to chalk up to stupidity on my part. Came in last year as a 3-star player. I brought him in as help on the defensive line. He never really got into the games for us, and when he did, he was absolutely horrible. At the end of the season, I put him out on the market for about half his value, and there were no takers, and I said, dude, find a team. And he said, I am more than happy to. And then, amazingly, Victoria Colne came in and paid me £10,000 for him, which is about $5,000 more than I was expecting. Mungo Bridge. Man, this was tough. I really wanted to keep him. He has been nothing but brilliant since he joined us. And last season was more the same. 32 goals, 19 assists, 6 players in the match, 7.59 rating. He's 27 years old. I don't think he's getting any better. Preston came in unsolicited, and I had just signed a younger player that we'll get to in a minute. And I felt certain that this young kid I signed would be more than able to step in for Mungo. And actually, in the long run, be better than him because he's 9 years younger than Mungo. And I couldn't afford to pay them both. I went to Mungo and said what it'll take to keep you here. He wanted £15,000 a week. And I couldn't do it. In the end, he went to Preston for £875,000 up front, going up to £1.3 million. Those are easily achievable appearance fees and goals if he stays healthy. Next out was Miles Brown, who was my all-purpose fill-in on the defensive line, 25 years old, said he wanted to leave. I didn't want to keep him. I brought in Gummersall, so out he went. John Barrow left. He wasn't getting any better, and he was going to be lost in the shuffle this year. I put him out on what I thought was loan, and then I guess I had also checked transfer available, and Ipswich Town came and made a credible offer for him. He's on their under-23 teams. But £18,000 for a kid I got in on a free, I'm happy to let that go. Yari. This is where I well and truly screwed the pooch. The first time around, I got a notification saying his release clause fee is too low, and it was £800,000. And the first time around, I renegotiated a new contract with him and put that up to $4 million. And he signed the contract, and then A week later in game time, that's when the game crashed. I went back to the beginning, did all the scouting again, signed all the players again, actually signed a couple different players this time around because other players I signed the first time around went to different teams. Was well into the friendlies. And I was looking down at my notebook and I realized I had crossed out sign Yari new contract. And because I had crossed it out, I ignored it. I had crossed it out after the first time I had signed him. And because I had crossed it out, I ignored it. And I signed him to a new I made a new contract offer, played a friendly. The friendly ended the very next day. Huddersfield came in and offered us £800,000, which was more than his release fee clause. And the board automatically accepted it. And I couldn't do anything about it. I couldn't offer him a new contract. And it set up a bidding war. At one point in time, he had 20 different clubs from Spain, Italy, Germany, and France after him. And I kept saying, and the offers were insulting. You know, £400,000, £450,000. And they were like, no. And I was like, no. And he finally came to me, or I finally looked, and he said FC Kaiserslautern was where he wanted to go. I'll admit I have a soft spot in my heart for FC Kaiserslautern because I actually saw a few of their games in the 80s when I lived there. My dad was stationed there. And so Kaiserslautern came in with an offer that was about £650,000. And I teased him up to £775,000, going to £875,000 with some really easily achievable bonuses. Appearances, international appearances, and goals scored. And so he left. And I'm really kind of hacked off about it. And I got no one to blame for that but myself. On the ends, though, I think we made up for it in more ways than one. I sent a scout out to Central Europe. And he turned up Milan Stankovic from Crvena Zvezda in the Serbian league. He was on their under-18 team. 31 caps, 9 goals for their under-21 national team. 4-star current ability, 4-star potential ability. I made an inquiry. They shot me down. A couple of days later, I saw a news item about their locker room being in revolt because he wasn't allowed to negotiate with us. I went back, made an inquiry. They came back and said £325,000. I clicked accept as fast as I could. This kid has superstar written all over him. Natural defensive forward. Okay deep line playmaker. Okay target man. Okay false nine. Has been really, really good for us. And the player he was replacing, he is almost as good as now, if not better in some areas. Mungo wasn't as good as him in the mental, defending, and physical areas. They're equal in speed and aerial. Mungo was better in the technicals and attacking. Mungo's also 27 years old, going on 28. Stankovic is 18 years old, going on 19. He is going to be here long term. And if he is not here long term, that is because I am selling him for a boatload of money. Callum Lentil, 3.5-star current ability, 4.5-star potential ability, defensive midfielder. I brought him in because one of my other tactics is that 4-3-3 I switched to last season with a defensive midfielder, and I wanted a natural defensive midfielder who could play Segundo Volante really well, because that way he'll get up the field and also help the attack. He's done a really nice job for us. He also plays midfielder incredibly well, Carolero and Manzala especially. Good physicals, good mentals where they count. Technicals, yeah, his crossing could be a little bit better, but you know what? He's a defensive midfielder. I'm not too worried about his crossing. You know, his marking is good, his passing is good, his tackling is good, his technique is great. I like this guy. Everything about him I like. And last but not least, the replacement for Yari that I spent £1.5 million on, going up to 1.7. Francisco Jose Rivero. Started out in Tenerife, Went to Girona for £725,000, played a grand total of 18 games for them. 3.5-star current ability, 4.5-star potential ability. I probably overpaid for him. But I needed a placement for Yari, and he was the best available. And as a matter of fact, they're both the same age. Jose's better on a lot of the mentals. He's better on a lot of the technicals. He's not as good on some of the physicals. But I like his natural fitness. If you look at the overview, he's a better overall player now, I think, and he's only going to get better. Chances are Yari, in the long term, might end up being the better overall player, but I like Jose. He'll do a more than capable job for us. The other signing that's not going to show up here, unless it's down here at the bottom. No, it's not going to show up here, is Durante. I extended his loan last season. He is more than happy to be here. His contract at Man United doesn't expire until 2031. The problem is he's an 18-year-old in the Man United system, and they can definitely buy a better player than him. I think I have a good chance to keep on loaning him, if not outright buy him, depending on what the end of the season budget looks like. And that was our off-season in a nutshell. The second time around, we spent $1.9 million. We brought in $2.8 million. At one point in time, I was only getting 35% of the transfer window. That's back up to 55%. I did take some of our transfer budget and put it in the scouting budget because I plan on scouting Europe as best as I can to build up the youth team. I think we've improved ourselves. Yes, we lost some good players, but I think the players we brought in will more than make up for them. As it stands, this episode right now is 35 minutes long, and that's before I've done any editing. So I'm going to wrap this up, and then we are going to come back and overview the first few games of the season, and then get a couple live comms in. Well, we brought in a decent amount of money from television revenue, amongst other things. Of course, the vast majority of it went right out the window about 10 seconds after it arrived. I think we were pretty successful in the transfer window. I mean, honestly, the only thing that was really, really bad about it was the fact I had to do it twice. And that's entirely my fault. Boy, that was... I was lucky in that it was about 1:30 in the morning when it happened, because if it hadn't been that late at night, everyone else in the family would have been awake, and they would have heard me cussing up a storm. And my kids know enough bad words as it is. Be that as it may, I think we brought in some really good players. I think the players that left were players who needed to leave, other than Yari, of course. Yeah, that's going to leave a mark for a while. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. And I think we got a better striker to replace him. If you liked what you've seen and heard, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel for more content. Questions, criticisms, comments, leave those down below. I'll answer them as fast as I can. My name's FM18, and I thank you for watching.